Hey, what's up? Serpentine here, taking a look at the multiplayer strategic first-person shooter Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Developed by Ubisoft Montreal, the same guys behind Watch Dogs, Far Cry 4 and numerous other Tom Clancy titles, including Blacklist and Conviction. Siege is a game about tactics, strategy and using every utility available to your advantage in numerous siege situations. Siege's closest relation in terms of base gameplay is Counter-Strike. Both games have teams of 5 taking turns in attacking and defending, attempting to wipe out the other team or complete the objectives. However, that's just about where the similarities end, with Siege opting for complexity and gadgetry as opposed to simplicity and gunplay of Counter-Strike. At the start of the round, each team will have a short setup phase that for the defenders entails barricading doorways, reinforcing walls and generally preparing for the attack. For the attackers, they will be piloting little spy drones attempting to find the objective and observe the defenders' setup. Once the short setup phase is over, it will mostly be the attackers moving in on the objective while the defenders lay in wait. The defenders do have access to the building's numerous cameras, so they can try to find where the attackers will be coming from, but otherwise they'll just have to wait for the attackers to come to them. Creating holes in walls or even in barricades can give you line of sight advantages while not revealing your entire body to any approaching enemies. However, as an attacker, a hole in the wall or barricades is quite obvious, and being a breakable wall, taking a few blind shots through the wall can land you a couple of hits on an enemy. Once eliminated from the round, you can still assist your team by spotting enemies and their movements using cameras and unpilotable spy drones from the setup phase. Each side has their own set of standard gadgets that they can use to their advantage, along with their unique character-based gadget. For the defenders, they have deployable bulletproof shields to hide behind or even to block off certain areas of a room, razor wire that requires the enemy to move very slowly while traversing, and finally remote C4 that can easily thin out their attack. For the attackers, they have frag grenades that can be used to clear out rooms of gadgets and defenders, flash grenades that when caught looking directly at the grenade, blinds for quite a lengthy amount of time, and finally a breaching charge that can be placed on barricades and breakable walls to destroy them in one blast. The attacking team also has a very unique weapon with the riot shield that is almost indestructible in the right hands. With the riot shield, you can only have a pistol as your actual weapon, but any enemy directly in front of you will have an extremely hard time shooting the person holding the shield, or anyone else behind them for that matter. The pistol isn't a bad weapon either, with the game's extremely quick kill time, with only 1 or 2 shots being enough to down an opponent. It has been a source of some contention within the community, with players asking for a way to deal with attacking teams playing mass riot shields, and just brute forcing their way onto the objective. The strategy can be countered somewhat with remote C4 and a certain character's gas grenade, however it is extremely hard to get these countermeasures in the right place and at the right time to be effective. The shield strategy does need a better counter, and would probably be ideal to have a weapon like the shotgun be able to 2-shot and destroy the shield, or perhaps even nerfing the pistol's accuracy while not aiming down the sights. It is something that will need a lot more testing, and with this type of highly competitive game, I fully expect frequent balance patches to deal with these kinds of things. The gunplay in Siege is honestly a little disappointing, feeling more like Call of Duty's gunplay of spray with very little recoil than something that takes skill to be really good. The problem stems from the game combat being close quarters, so most of the guns in the game are SMGs, with a lot of them feeling very similar to each other. It also doesn't help that the game's hitbox and weapon damage system is also very similar to Call of Duty's, which promotes a spray and pray playstyle due to only 1 or 2 shots downing players. The only time you would need to be really accurate is when trying to shoot the exposed parts of shield bearers. At the moment, Siege's competitiveness isn't found in its gunplay, instead it's in the game's communication, gadget usage and positioning. Speaking about positioning, micro movements are almost impossible to do in Siege, as even the slightest hit of a directional key will move you quite drastically, which can make it hard to just lean your head out of cover instead of your whole body. Another important part of the game is its character feature, and this is a lot better than the game's gunplay, although there are some areas, or rather some characters and their gadgets, that could use some more work. Firstly though, let's go over what the character system is exactly. When you first play the game, you will have no characters unlocked, instead you will play as a recruit with no special gadgets. By completing a game, depending on you and your team's performance, you will earn renown, an in-game currency that can be spent unlocking characters, or alternatively can be spent upgrading and customizing one of your existing characters. The rate at which you obtain renown, you're almost assured a character unlock every 2 games, at least for the first few character unlocks, as the price does add upon itself for each character purchased in each unit's selection. The unit selection being outfits like the FBI, GIGN, and other branches of law organizations. With so many different characters to select, 7 in total for each side, there are going to be some characters that are better than others. There are some that feel that they're just meant to counter gadgets that are still yet to be added to the game, like IQ, a character that is able to detect enemy electrical equipment. She doesn't really have a solid use that you would expect from an ability like that, where she would be able to locate claymores, trip mines, or traps. Instead, she can only really detect things that are either blindingly obvious to other players already, or equipment that has already served its purpose, like signal jammers. IQ is an example of just a couple characters that their purpose may need to be looked at. Other factors to consider when selecting characters outside of their available gadgets is their stat, of which there are only 2, move speed and armor. The customization of characters is reserved to gun add-ons like scopes, silencers and grips, along with cosmetics in the form of gun skins and patterns. The gun add-ons are fairly cheap, costing around half a game's worth of renown to purchase. The cosmetic skins, however, are a little bit pricier, requiring you to play around 10 games to be able to unlock. I would love to see some sort of cosmetic customization available for the shields in the game, both the riot shields and the deployable shields, but the gun skins are enough already. During the closed beta phase, there were 3 game modes available to play, 2 multiplayer competitive modes and 1 co-op mode. The 2 multiplayer modes were honestly very much the same, with the disarm bomb mode having 2 bombs in different rooms that can be defused, while the secure area mode has 1 area that can be captured by the attackers. It is a little worrying as to how different the multiplayer modes will be, as we have already seen the hostage game mode showcased numerous times that has very similar gameplay as these other 2 modes. The co-op mode, however, called Terrorist Hunt Classic, does provide a different experience where a team of 5 players take on a building full of AI terrorists. The mode can be extremely difficult, especially if you get caught out by the suicide bottomers that will rush your position. Other features of the game include character lifetime statistics, where you can see your kill-death ratios, wins, and more to do with that particular character. I would expect later on there would be some sort of competitive rankings along with something tied to your overall account level, which doesn't do anything at the moment. There will be a total of 20 different operators available to play, 4 for each Special Forces unit. There was only 14 operators during the beta phase. The ones excluded included Glaz, that has a sniper rifle, Tuchenka, which had a mounted light machine gun, Ash, who can deploy breaching charges from a distance, and Thatcher with EMP grenades, along with 1 other unannounced operator from the Spetsnaz forces. Altogether, Rainbow Six Siege provides an exhilarating strategic experience, with many of its features and mechanics really well polished. The game does have a much slower pace than most other shooters, requiring slow, cautious movement and setup, but when the breaching begins it does quickly step up a gear in terms of speed and intensity. The gunplay is an unfortunate downside to the game, with guns feeling very similar to each other and simplistic mechanics that promote spray and pray rather than skillful aiming. If you're after a really polished strategic shooter that is competitive and relies on good communication, then Rainbow Six Siege is definitely worth a look. However, you should take into consideration that there won't be any single player mode. Anyway, that's been my player preview for Rainbow Six Siege. The game will be officially releasing on the 1st of December on PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One for $60 or your regional equivalent. If you want to find out more about the game, check out the links below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.